What the fuck?
It's like croutons in a soup.
Don't turn down any opportunity, whether it's a camp, a clinic, because you never know literally who's watching.
Make your own decision and stick with them and know they're the right decisions, right? And even if they aren't right, don't regret them.
He didn't know creatine existed.
So you got some creatine? He's like, oh, yeah. Lift heavyweight.
Shipped across the border. I shipped across the border.
Shipped across the border, man.
Welcome back to Shipped Across the Border.
What's up, y'all? We started? Yeah. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Shipped Across the Border. My name's Max, and I'm here with Chris. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, we don't got much to talk about today. We got kicked out of our room.
Kicked out of our room?
I mean, there's people in our usual room. There's some randoms walking around the library right now we've never seen before. It was Halloween yesterday. I had a massive seafood boil today with our good friend of the pod, the Lo Mein, Jack Lowe, and that was good. And I slept the entire rest of the day. We don't got much, so this is kind of a last minute thing for y'all. We're just gonna chop it up and see where it takes us.
Sure. You want me to pull up the quote now? Just throw it at you.
Fire it at me.
Okay. I've been reading a lot of Nietzsche, the philosopher.
Who?
Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche. And one of his things is people often talk about after reading Nietzsche, they have like existential breakdowns because he's so blunt with the truths that he talks about in his book.
Okay.
And I'm gonna pose this to you because when he said this, it actually hit pretty hard for me. So we're gonna see if.
Might I start crying on the pod?
No, you're not. It's not like if you overhype it like that, it's not gonna happen. But
okay.
We'll just see what you think about this. In one of his books, he says, "What if someday or night a demon were to steal after you into your loneliest loneliness and say to you, 'This life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more, and there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every joy must return to you.' Would you scream in exhalation and say you are a god, or would you drop down and gnash your teeth in response saying, 'This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me'?"
I'd be so hyped.
Basically, he's saying that if you had to relive your life exactly how you've lived it up until this point for the rest of eternity.
And I feel the emotion still. I feel
everything that has happened to you up until this point or happened for you that you've made happen is going to happen exactly the way that it happened for the rest of time. If that was the case, would you drop down on your knees and cry and say this is the worst thing ever, or would you be ecstatic?
I'd be ecstatic.
Why?
Because I feel like a lot of the things that I've done throughout my life have all been in pursuit of currently what I'm experiencing, which is playing college basketball. I feel like a lot of the goals that I have set out to achieve are things that I have accomplished, and I've moved the goalpost, and I've continued to accomplish, and I think that is. I feel like a lot of people would be on their knees. I feel like they haven't done much, but I feel like because I've pretty much my life has been driven by purpose and passion and fulfillment. I would be. And honestly, and I'm nearing the end of that street of the basketball is my personality portion of my life. I would be ecstatic to go back to the beginning of it and relive all of it up again.
Okay.
I mean, and listen, I feel like not everybody can say that. I'm super fortunate to be able to say that. But yeah, I mean, my whole life has been in pursuit of currently what I am experiencing.
So this is the thing with his philosophy, is that the whole point of that, it's called the Eternal Recurrence, is one of his things. And it hits a lot of people really hard because what his philosophy essentially boils down to is affirming life. And so, one of the big things that he did when he was writing his books is he dispels Christianity, basically.
Okay. We're not a religious podcast.
No, but he rips into it and basically tears it from its roots. And one of the reasons he does that is because he says that Christianity denies life, which definitionally you kind of have to. If you believe in an afterlife, you have to deny the life that you're currently living. And so one of the things he says is that if you're going to live life, you should affirm it in all of its suffering, all of its joy, all of its ugliness, and that's how you should live your life.
Okay. I think that... so I get to feel everything. Do I know that I'm living it again and again?
I don't know if when people hit this Nietzsche line, they went this in depth, but or they asked this many questions.
Because if I knew I was living it again and again, even if I couldn't change anything,
no, I think you have to live it from a point of ignorance because you didn't know it was going to happen the first time.
Well, I will try much harder to be much more grateful of what I am presently experiencing. Because I was actually just talking about this with Jack today.
If you get to the,
If I get to live everything
know
I've
that you lived
experienced,
it.
and I know that I lived it, the only thing that I wish I would change is I was much more grateful for what I was experiencing. And me and Jack were talking about high school, and I was talking about AOA and like he thinks I have some crazy stories about, because I've also I've been technically in college. Not necessarily in college, 'cause I've only been in college for 4 years, but I've
been in dorms and
in
such.
dorms, away from home, living by myself, playing basketball at high level for this is year 6, which is I started off very young. I was 16, so I have a lot of stories and a lot of experiences. And we started off. I don't know how we started off talking, but we started talking about AOA and I don't even know if you know this, but so you know how it was me, it was Alex, it was Elijah, Jeremy. We've had Jeremy on the podcast, Ryan's younger brother.
we haven't had him on the podcast, but I know.
So another Canadian guy. There was 5 Canadian guys my senior year, because I went there junior year. We didn't really recruit much. We graduated a ton of guys because it was COVID, and then we recruited a ton of guys. And I put a couple guys on. A couple guys kind of found their way over there. And our school, fortunately, had a ton of money. So we had a bunch of different vehicles. We had vans, we had buses on campus. And so whenever we wanted to go home from school, we all lived relatively in the same area. Mm-hmm. So we would pay. The school had vans, so we would just and the school had drivers on tap. So we would just compensate. We just pay the driver, and he would drive the 5 of us in an Andrews Osborne Academy white van to the border, and then one of our parents would pick us up, and then drop us off somewhere, and all the parents would meet up and go their separate ways because we all lived relatively in the same area, and I thought that was super normal, and that was dope. We did that 4 or 5 times throughout the semester. This guy Jim, he was our driver. He'd drive us all the time. We would stop at gas stations. We stopped at the same gas stations, whatever, and that was our boy. And he drove us 4 or 5 times throughout my senior year, and there was 5 of us just in a van on a road trip.
You thought that was weird?
I thought that was super normal. He thought that's the craziest thing.
Huh. The only thing I compare to that is when we went to the States, my coach drove us all
Which
5
I
of us.
understand. Not a lot of school. I didn't go to a regular school. I went to a international.
Specifically
It's
international.
an international boarding school. So my teammates, my whole starting lineup, we didn't have a single kid in the rotation that was an American kid. It was 4 Canadians. It was a kid from Spain, a kid from Italy, and a couple other kids from Italy or Spain or France, or we had no American kids. JV was the American team, and so that's a super unique experience. And just we were talking about that, and I was going through my Snap memories to try and find a video of us singing Taylor Swift in the van on the way back home, and I have so many of these unique experiences that in the moment I took for granted. Mm-hmm. For example, at Madai, we definitely took some of the things from Madai for granted.
Shout out the podcast studio, bro.
Yeah, exactly. It was an absolute listen. It was definitely a time, and every day was a day for sure. There was a lot of crazy shit that happened there, and there was a lot of highs. There was also a ton of lows, especially for us freshmen. But I wish I could experience that all again, or I wish I experienced in high school again. I wish I could experience last season again, just from the contrast of just showing up every day with such delayed gratification, and then kind of it all coming to a culmination at the perfect moment for us. There's so many things that, and listen, it's impossible. It's impossible to be in the moment and be grateful of every little thing that is happening. As a human being, you just can't hindsight is 20/20. You look back on an experience that now that you don't have it, and you can recognize how impactful or how good it was.
You pulling the Office quote right now?
I don't know.
You never heard the one where he says, I don't know which character it is. I've never watched The Office.
Me
but
neither.
There's a TikTok of, I don't know how I've even seen this, where he goes, I wish there was a way to know you're in the golden years before you've actually left them.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So I wish I could just if I had to go back and experience all of that again. I'm super fortunate to have such an amazing high school experience, basketball experience. Not everyone, a lot of guys who have dedicated their life to it and not seen the results, the accomplishments, the fruits of their labor that I have. And listen, I think that it's been a very slow, the process of picking those fruits off the tree and seeing the results has been slow as molasses. But yeah,
that's what's made it worth it.
I think, yeah, so for example, at the end of last season, so my dad flew in for the playoff game. I was hadn't been shooting the ball near the end of the season, and was in the rotation, out of the rotation, started some games. It was super inconsistent, and then got in an opportunity in the second half when they went to zone and hit two massive threes. and that really like was an unbelievable moment in my college basketball career, and something that like I draw upon still to this day. Not necessarily of like validation, like I'm a good basketball player, but validation like I can succeed in not ideal circumstances. Like sitting on the bench for 30 minutes and then coming in and having to shoot a cold three in a playoff game where there's the most important game the school has been in the last 10 years, and the most people that have probably been in that gym in a long ass time. Tons of crowd. I've been sitting. I was cold as shit, and I was able to do that. And that's from probably a lot of luck, but also tons of stacked days, right? And so I still use that experience to draw on to as justification that I can do things that are difficult, and I can do things that even in circumstances that aren't ideal. But that wasn't where I was going with that. After the game, I've never really like the other time I've like cried from like basketball or like a season being over. After my senior year when we lost, I'd probably spend like a day or two in my room. I did not play a great game and whatever, and we lost. It was in shambles after that. And then last year. And after that game, like we were crying. I was like bawling my eyes out. And I think it was honestly just like a relief of pressure, metaphorical pressure from like the contrast. Because it started off so tough, just showing up every day. We were 0-11 in the out of conference, showing up every day, grinding with such a slow burn of no fruits of your labor, not seeing any results, and then clicking at the right time, and then just like like a snowball going down a hill effect for us in the second half of the season. And like to have that, now it's done, and you kind of like reflect on kind of what just happened as opposed to like being in it. And I was talking to my dad. We were walking from the gym to the car because we were going to go for dinner after the game. And I was still crying. And like, listen, there were times where I called my dad and I was pissed about how I was playing, shots that I missed, opportunity that I wasn't getting, practices that were tough or whatever. Like I talk to my dad often, like all the time. And so he was with me like every step of the way, especially last year when it was hard and it was good. And he actually came, he was there versus probably my most rock bottom moment of the year, which was after Trinity, which was, I was like 0 for 10 on my first 10 shots. I probably missed my 10th shot. I maybe hit like one of my first threes this season, but I stepped out of bounds on a pump fake. And so
I remember it vividly.
And so they didn't count it. We lost by 50. I didn't get a ton of playing time in this blowout, and it was a really tough. And we got smoked, and they ended up winning the national championship because they're an awesome team. But it was like a really low moment for me. Like I wasn't playing well. We weren't doing well. I was super frustrated, and where I was at with my progress and everything, and kind of I felt like I was dropping down the opportunity totem pole, whatever. And my parents were there. My parents watched that. They also came to a different game where we lost to Curry, which we lost on a team that was very similar to us. Could have had our first game, and we lost on a game winner. I got in and also missed another good look. And so I was like super frustrated, and they witnessed that in person. And my dad came to the game where it probably had, I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life for the reasons that I talked about before. And so he was with me for every step of the way. And after I was bawling. I was still crying after we left. And I was like, no matter, like, I wish I could do that again. Like, that was literally the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, that season, all the ups, all the downs, like, yeah, it was tough, but that, like, what just happened, like, that whole season. Not, obviously, the loss and losing to Mitchell and that especially in that fashion, in that game, like, sucked ass. But, like, reflecting on the whole experience of the whole season, even though there was honestly probably a lot more tough moments than there were positive moments, I was just overwhelmed with emotion, wishing that I could just experience that again. And now I'm going to have to wait 6 months or 8 months to be able to even experience the feeling that of kind of what just happened.
And now you're in it again.
Now I'm in it again for the last time. And so I'm really trying really hard to only focus on controlling what I can control, making every day count, and flipping over every stone, leaving no stone unturned, and just kind of enjoying the last time I'll ever be able to compete at the highest level I physically can in the sport that I love.
Yeah, I mean, that's the logic behind when Nietzsche says something like that, is like, can you live every single moment as if this is going to be relived 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, 1,000,000,000,000 times over again? And you would have you wouldn't flinch in the face of that weight in every decision you make.
I would not. Going back though, like there would be times where I wish it wasn't how it was. You know what I'm saying? Because if I can't change anything, like there are some times that fucking suck. And especially if I don't know, like if I don't know any better, if I'm going through with complete ignorance.
You're just hovering above, watching yourself stumble over the same things as if you were God, I guess.
That's what it is.
Well, if it was that, that's not as real.
Yeah.
That's just like watching your kid. He's gonna touch the hot stove, and you know he's gonna touch the hot stove, but you can't stop him from touching the hot stove because he needs something lesson about touching the hot stove.
Yeah.
There's
What would you? Would you?
Here's the problem. It's not a what if that he's proposing. It's more of a psychological.
How would you feel
analysis of like he says, would you drop down on your knees and gnash your teeth, or would you jump up with joy? And when he said that the first time, it wasn't joy.
No.
I can say that. It immediately wasn't like, oh my God, I'd be ecstatic that could happen. Because I read it as, if you could relive your life up until this point, would you be joyful? And I was like, yes, of course. And then I reread it and I heard the 1,000 times over Eternal Recurrence part, and I was like, I probably wouldn't be joyful. And then if you want me to dive into that,
I'll give you a second to think.
okay.
Because I think I have a reason why I feel like I can answer that in like a positive way. I think also, like my whole life, the only thing I've ever thought about was being a college basketball player. Like that's literally what consumed my being, my identity, my focus, my everything. So I never really had this was really the first year where I've like had a thought of like, what am I going to do after basketball? What am I going to do? Obviously, I have recently signed a contract for a position, which we can talk about after, for a full-time position when I graduate, which I'm super happy about. And I was grinding my ass off from the beginning, from like the summer until like a week ago or 2 weeks ago for that. But that was the first time in 22 years that I ever thought about like, what am I going to do after basketball? So if you're telling me that I can just live my whole because if we're talking about today, that's like 98% of my entire basketball career. And you're telling me like I got to like culminate in a moment of that much emotion, I feel like that's a pretty good story. So, but I feel like not everybody lives their first 22 years of life with such immense passion and focus. Like some people live their first 22 years doing absolute degeneracy, and then from 23 to 40 they start a business, and that's where their character development, that's where all of their, I guess, highs in their story come. Knock on wood, I hope to God I haven't lived all the highs of my story.
It's all downhill from here.
But in my basketball story, like it's after this year, it's wraps. It's gonna be moving on to another chapter. So I feel like also that's I'm in a little bit of a different perspective than I guess the average person who would be answering that question, because I've woken up every day with purpose up until this point.
At the core of it is intent. Like, have you lived? When he's asking this question, he's like, would you drop down on your knees and bemoan the situation, or would you jump up with joy? Is asking essentially at its core, have you lived your life up until this point with intent, or has life lived through you, basically?
I think that's a unique part about being an athlete, is it gives you, especially if you're playing. I mean, listen, some people play sport, they don't love it, they just play it to play it, but I play it because I love it. We've talked about that on the podcast before, and so I wake up every day like with the sole goal of making the most of that day. It's like, for example, today I didn't play. All I did is I went to the weight room and I did 15 minutes of mobility. Like I maximized that day. I took the day off to rest my body, ate some good food, got caught up on some sleep, and did some mobility. And like that's a day in the life. Like that's I don't know how to explain that. That's a perfect day in terms of stacking a day to reach my goal. And I feel like I don't have many days that aren't like that. They look different. Like for example, today doing 15 minutes of mobility is going to look tomorrow different when I go and work out individually in the morning. We have practice and I have an ice bath after. We maybe watch some film as well. And the commitment and the time commitment and the productivity looks a little bit different, but there's not necessarily one that's like better than the other, because both of them are 100%. For example, tomorrow I will have more to give than I do today on a day where Sunday, we had a long last week, we had a game on Friday, where I need rest. You know what I'm saying? But every day I feel like I'm at least, like there aren't many days where I can look back on and say like I wasted an opportunity to get better today, if that makes sense.
I'm going to try and tie something to this because I hope it'll make sense, but I'm a little shaky on what I'm about to bring up. Have you ever heard of the myth of Sisyphus before? The Greek myth?
That does sound very familiar. You have to remind me.
There's a writer his name's Albert Camus, and he wrote a book called The Myth of Sisyphus, and it's based on the myth in ancient Greece. This is where I'm going to be a little bit shaky. My understanding is that, in a basic understanding, Sisyphus is a man that was cursed to push a boulder up a hill for the rest of his life, and then right at the top of the hill, the boulder would crash all the way back down, and he'd have to push it all the way back up, like right as he got to the peak. In Albert Camus' book, the line that I've read, I haven't read his actual book, but I've heard this over and over again through TikToks and whatnot. He says, we must imagine Sisyphus happy, despite the fact that he's pushing a boulder up a hill there's no purpose behind it. His job is to push his boulder up his hill. The thing he says in his book is that despite it being a innately meaningless pursuit, him choosing to do it anyway and find meaning in the absurdity of it all, that's what gives him meaning. And so, like,
well, technically, everything is a meaningless pursuit.
this is where we get into. This is where I was going to go with this. Is that I'm really diving into philosophy.
You must have really interpreted my spam Instagram story from a couple of days ago.
Me?
I'm joking, but I posted something similar like that on my spam Instagram story.
The thing that I've been diving into philosophy really hard right now. And when you say, like, technically everything's a meaningless pursuit, life does not come with inherent meaning, according to a lot of these
This is what I posted.
philosophers.
I don't, like, not word for word, but I was like, anyone ever think about how the fact we're all monkeys just roaming around that assign value and meaning to arbitrary things that dictate how we communicate to each other and experience life? Like, that's kind of what was the gist of what I posted. I don't know if you've seen that, but yeah, I was actually thinking about like being good at basketball means nothing to anyone else other than me.
Sure.
Me being good at basketball,
you have assigned meaning to it.
yes.
This is where, like, diving into philosophy, and I'm so, like, early on this. I've only been reading philosophy, like, seriously for the last maybe 2 weeks, but the conclusion I think I've come to is that every philosophical standpoint is basically arguing away nihilism. Do you know what nihilism is?
Nihilism is that nothing matters.
Nihilism is the idea that life is inherently meaningless, therefore why do anything? And so every other philosophical viewpoint stems from the argument against that. And so, like, the argument that Albert Camus makes in the Myth of Sisyphus is that the absurdity of life, you can accept that and say, life is meaningless, instead of saying, why do anything? You have to accept the illusion of meaning, and then almost, because it's meaningless, that gives you your meaning. Because you get to choose what you make meaningful, is basically what he says. I think, again, I haven't read the book, but this is what I've surmised from what he's saying. And so you pushing that boulder up the hill of life is basketball for you. Well,
I think that's a good metaphor for everything. Like, everybody, no matter what it is, even if you're never going to get the boulder over the hill. For example, me. Like, this is another Alex Hormozy quote. It's like or maybe it wasn't, but it was definitely on a podcast that he was on. It's like, you've already achieved goals.
That's his, yeah.
What is it? You've
already achieved goals you said would make you happy.
Exactly. So maybe the boulder's like the happiness, and you're pushing it up, and you say that once you push the boulder over the hill, it'll make you happy, but you'll never get over the hill. You'll never reach the...
Well, you might, but that's not the part that's supposed to make you happy. That's the thing. It's like getting over the hill. Pushing the boulder up the hill in and of itself is supposed to sustain you.
It's you achieve the goal. You maybe have, a second and a half of... And then it's like, okay, what's next?
New hill, new boulder.
And that's humanity. That's purpose. That's fulfillment. You're not fulfilled by doing the last centimeter of pushing the boulder up to the top of the hill. You're fulfilled by going from the bottom to the top, right? And yeah,
I don't know. I'm just, like, sitting over here. You asked me to go deeper onto the Eternal Recurrence thing.
You would be able to experience getting jacked for the first time, experience newbie gains again for the first time. You'd be able to experience going out and eating specific things for the first time.
That's not where my mind goes. That's the thing.
Where does it go?
Because you think, like, okay, your mind innately goes to the optimistic viewpoint of, like, okay, I get to do all the good things again. But my mind goes, like, I have to go through all the bullshit again. And I don't know. I'm in a weird headspace right now. There's, like, certain things I can't bring up on the podcast.
I was going to say, that I'm just bullshit that
I'm just ruminating on lately. But, like, that's where my mind is at right now. So I can't. Then when he said that, it happened at a weird time where, like, I'm actively maneuvering through some things using very, like, discrete knowledge to try and throw it out there. But it came at a very weird time, and that's why it hit so hard for me, because I was like, I didn't jump up with joy, like, as soon as he said that. No.
Yeah, I mean, also it depends. It just depends on, like, I think you're also asking me in a very, like, opportune time for me to say yes. If it depends on when you ask, I also that question.
You think you would answer it differently if you were 60?
Hopefully not.
That's the idea.
The idea is
the ideal is that you're supposed to answer it with joy because you've lived your life with intent and purpose.
So hopefully when I'm 60, I will feel the same way as I feel now. But I feel like I'm lucky to be able to answer yes at 22 because I feel like I've lived a life of fulfillment, purpose, meaning, and intent up until this point through basketball, which I'm fortunate to have picked up when I did. Not everybody has, like I was saying before, like some people find and listen, I'm gonna have to find. I mean, listen, basketball will always be my passion. Like I'm gonna play basketball for as long as I physically can, but it's not gonna be the sum of my being for any longer after, hopefully, middle of March, right? But some people find that don't have something that is their innate being until much later in life, and they start a business or they, I don't know, whatever it is, meet a girl that do X, Y, Z, and whatever it is. But it's interesting that right away, because now I'm starting to think like about like the shit like you'd have to go through in order to, the lows you'd have to go to in order to reach the highs.
Indeed. You're talking about my shit or your shit?
I don't know much of your shit.
No, you don't know none of my shit.
So my shit. I mean, I think it makes it much better if you have hindsight.
It makes it possible if you have hindsight.
What do you mean?
If I ask you this question and you have no hindsight, then you can't answer the question. The very fact that you have hindsight allows you to answer the question.
That's not what I meant. I meant like going back and you don't keep all the memories, you keep the perspective.
No, you don't. That's the whole point.
Like, so if I'm going through a shit moment, I don't know in that shit moment
that you already went through this shit moment.
It's going to be better. I'm experiencing everything for the first time. Yes. That's what I'm saying. So I was saying that if I could go back
and have perspective,
and like I know that it's like I know how the story ends, and you live
that makes it the most boring story in the world. If you say that I get to relive my life, but I know the ending, that would suck. That would suck 1,000 times over.
You think so?
That takes literally.
But you could still experience everything that's happening.
Okay, think about it like this: the only reason that a moment is valuable is because you can't go back and do it again. If you're going back and doing it again, you've sucked all the meaning out of that value in the first place. The very fact that you get to be on a basketball court for the very last time of your entire college career is what's going to make it valuable, and that's what's going to force tears out of your body. If you get to look at it and go, well, I can just press a button and go back and do this 1,000 times, why is this meaningful? It's not, because you have the choice to do it over and over again.
Yeah.
You've sucked the meaning out of it.
I was just like talking, like you were saying before, like you get to like look over.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That can't be the case.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd still do it again. I'd be ecstatic. I'd be ecstatic to experience some of those high school memories again. Like, you wouldn't be ecstatic to experience that party?
That party?
Yeah. One more time. That feeling of giving your dad a wad of cash. Dude, lifting at Madai when you've like just found your new purpose. You're googly eye about every single thing, and you get to have newbie gains again. You get to look in the mirror and flex and see like fruits of your labor almost instantly. Not actually, but like compared to what you're seeing now.
It's just not where my mind goes right now.
And I also feel like it depends on when you're asked the question.
That's also why philosophy can be so powerful, because you can read the same book twice and get very different answers.
Different meanings out of it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I did not think we were going to get a 30-minute podcast episode off of one singular
this
quote.
This is the thing, okay, too. Nietzsche, also, by the way, this is part of the reason why I'm reading Nietzsche, is because he has a quote. I don't want to butcher this. I'm going to quickly pull this up before, sing to them while I do this.
Entertain the masses.
Nietzsche.
Send me your location.
I don't want to butcher this.
Dude, I'm actually an above average singer.
No.
Yeah. And if an average being a 5, I'm like a 5.5 on the singing scale.
Nietzsche, hammer. Here. So, the reason that I might have just lost my entire train of thought. Why can I not find this quote?
So we got a cat here. Cardboard, or not cardboard.
Nietzsche refers, I guess I didn't even need the quote, I can just say it myself. Basically, he refers to his philosophy as philosophizing with a hammer. And the reason for that is because he attempts to distill down what it takes other men an entire book to say into a single sentence, sorry. And so reading him is so dense, like so insanely dense, that you can take an entire page and spend a 30-minute podcast on a single quote. Like it's so insanely rich and dense in philosophical ideas and his viewpoints and everything that it takes so long to work through these things and actually be able to understand what he's talking about.
What is your median of
My median?
Like of reading? Is it you have a physical book?
Yeah, I bought all of his. It's not all of his books, but like.
Oh, it's
4
a
of them.
physical book.
Yeah, and then it's just they're not very long books. Like his book.
That was my next question.
His book, The Birth of Tragedy, is like 80 pages long, and I'm 10 pages in. And that's over the course of 2 weeks, just like brooding over the actual meaning of his words. Because he
So
also
you read like one page every couple of days.
well, you read it and then you try and I'm using ChatGPT as like a second brain, so I can have it all dissect what he's saying, write down a summary of what I think it means, and then I'll go to ChatGPT and say, "Is this right?" And then it'll tell me what's right about it and what's wrong about it, and you just keep doing that over and over and over.
How is ChatGPT going to tell you what you're assigning?
It's not necessarily that I'm assigning meaning to it. It's what did Nietzsche mean when he said this?
But how does ChatGPT know what Nietzsche meant?
Because there's a collective understanding of academics that went through his work and tried to decipher what he was talking about. Because yes, his books are inherently subjective in the sense that you can draw different meanings from it, but he also talks in a way that
that's the most Hubert shit I ever heard in my entire life, bro.
Both what?
Hubert, like, let me ask ChatGPT.
It's not like I'm referring to ChatGPT because I read my own summary and then I cross-reference it with like what did he actually mean? Because here's the thing, right?
But why does it matter what he actually meant if it's subjective?
It's because let me explain it like this. In the beginning of one of his books, he purposely uses the line where he says, "If what I've written here does not make sense to you, the blame should not lie on me. Anyone who's educated enough to understand these words," and he goes on like this long tangent about rumination and how his work should be read as if you're like a cow grazing in a field, is that you should read it and then just sit with it, which I do. The problem is he writes in sort of riddles. And so like I'm intelligent enough to sort of get the gist of the riddles, but having a much more in-depth and broad understanding of the context in which it was written, 1870s Europe, and understanding what he was saying, it provides a much deeper background. And also like, it's not like, I'm not treating it as if ChatGPT is inherently right. I listen to what ChatGPT says, and then I go and listen to an academic breakdown of it on YouTube, and I try
one page or one
of one book or of one page or of the point from the thing that I just gave it. But so it's like I'm collecting multiple viewpoints of the same writing, and so then I can take what I think is accurate from it, and
I understand what you're saying.
Internalize it.
But
that's what it is. It's the same thing as you using YouTube videos to get through Elden Ring. It's the same thing. It's like one could argue that that's taking the joy out of the game because you didn't discover it yourself. But it's like, no, you would be literally lost in a maze of infiniteness if you didn't have a guide. That's what it is. It's a guide through Nietzsche. He writes. He writes purposefully in riddles. And he had an IQ of like 180. And he's referencing ancient Greek myths. And he was a philologist. He studied languages. He was fluent in 4 of them. Like he's pulling together insanely complex ideas that a dumb 22-year-old kid from Ontario, Canada, is trying to figure out. It's just an impossible task.
My one question would be though is that so you're looking through. So ChatGPT is helping guide you as your guide, and what it is taking from is 1870s other smart people who have in the past, in the distant past, dissected
translated what he's saying.
Do you still think that because that was so long ago that what ChatGPT is giving you that has been dissected from people who were alive like hundreds of years ago is still applicable to that subjectivity now?
You're basically asking that does truth expire?
Well, no, not really. I mean, I feel like truth inherently is revolving. It evolves, right? So the truths that it is pulling from 1870 have likely expanded and evolved or contracted or shifted in some form now in 2025, almost 2026 when you're reading it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I understand your question.
What do you think about that? Do you still like why?
Do I discard his
like why? Why do you believe that the smart people from 1870s who are dissecting what he is saying is still applicable? Is applicable to your subjective life in 2025?
Because I don't believe the truth expires.
Okay, that's fair.
Like I would say that. So if you look at the earliest stages of philosophy, like you could go back to ancient Egypt, but I don't really know that much about that. Go back to ancient Greece, and you look at the advent of like what they were writing back then.
Okay.
You could make the argument that every form of human art is simply a regurgitation of what happened since then, which I wouldn't. Okay. You'd have a hard time disagreeing with that because a lot of what art is simply repackaging of the same emotions, the same experiences, and the same
there's a
things.
finite amount of emotions.
Exactly. So you're repackaging the same finite amount of human experiences in a new modernized way. So these human truths haven't changed for tens of thousands of years, but you're just repackaging it in a new form of art. That's all it is. And in the most modernity, modern, updated way.
That makes
The
sense.
most relatable way that it is now. And so it's my job to translate it into what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
But the truths themselves
That makes sense.
are objective. Like what he's talking about is objective.
I'd have to read it to be able to determine that for myself.
It's hard. It's very hard. It's gonna take me 6 months to get through this.
Because I don't necessarily come from a perspective that truths are objective. Like if you ask someone in 1870s, like they would probably think things that are true that are now very much obviously like disproven. Like they probably would have thought
Disproven
that,
by whom?
like if you ask someone in 1870s and they'd be like, yeah, if you swallow gum, it's going to stay in your stomach for 80 years. And like obviously like that's not true. Like your stomach acid breaks it down.
Now you're stepping into the realm of science. So
But that's the truth.
it depends
for them.
Okay, but
Or you're saying it was never true to begin with.
I'm
so
saying,
how do we know the things that
I'm
he's
saying
talking
that
about?
you're using science as a verifiability that this is true when. So then, how do you? So before science was invented,
Okay.
was there truth?
Yeah.
How?
Trial and error experiences. If I punch the wall, my fist hurts. That not good. that hurts. That's true. Like that it hurts. Experience. I eat something. I can't breathe anymore. I'm like that's not good for
Okay,
me.
so science, by definition, strips the subjectivity from life. That's its job. Science's job is to strip subjectivity from life and from existence. And so, when you say truth, you kind of have to define what that means because philosophical truths have nothing to do with science. So to say that they've evolved and changed, it's like yes, but also no.
You think philosophical truths have nothing? We're getting like very out of our element right now.
A little bit. I mean, it's more out of your element than it is mine. It's based on the last 2 weeks, but like,
You think objective truths and science are mutually exclusive?
yes. I think it has to be that
I need
way.
to ponder on that a little bit more.
Good. Dude, in the end
Objective
in
truth.
one of Nietzsche's things, he literally ends the sentence by saying rumination with an exclamation mark. I don't know why I find that so funny, but just like rumination and just end the sentence because you have to sit with it
I
because
think I
it's
need
such a complex thought.
Is
Can there be objective truth without science? Yes.
I don't know if I could say that confidently. Can there be objective truth without science?
Yes.
So what was an example of an objective truth that's unrelated to science?
Is it wrong to murder someone?
Okay. So that's okay. Are you asking me? I think in 99.9% of circumstances, yes.
So you would say that is objectively true.
No,
Why?
because I said in 99.9% of circumstances. If you have to,
This is going to really go down the rabbit hole of morality, but this also eats at. So Nietzsche dispelled the entire history of morality
okay.
because he believed, or sorry, no, I shouldn't say morality because I literally got corrected today on this by ChatGPT. He rejected moralism,
Okay.
which is the idea that there is good and bad in the world. He rejected that idea,
he says there just is?
He said basically, he
Yeah.
said there just is, and this is going to get really difficult. How can I phrase this?
Whoever listens to this is
It's going to, your IQ dropped by 40. Listening
Probably,
to this.
honestly, the people that listen to this probably gained some IQ points from listening to this.
Danny Harry.
Yeah, Danny Harry definitely gained 40 IQ points from listening to this.
So Nietzsche had a lot of, oh my God, English. This is stretching my 2-week stint with Nietzsche really, really far. He's saying essentially that he rejects the ideas of bad and good because of where they come from. And because if you look at the earliest parts of religion that we base our moral
Was
compass
he
on,
an atheist?
technically,
I feel like that's a very important distinction.
Let me show you. Let me explain to you. This will maybe give you a better background on Nietzsche. He wrote a book called The Antichrist, where he essentially referred to himself as the second. He didn't necessarily say this inherently, but through the reading, you can kind of infer what he meant. He purposely wrote with so much arrogance that it was enough to call himself the second coming of Jesus, because he was trying to tear down an entire moral system, that being Christianity. He was attacking the entire basis of Western culture by saying that it was built on a moral foundation that was wrong. He tried to completely dispel with Christian moral themes. That's what he wanted to get rid of, because he believed that the moral themes that we were using to determine good and bad came out of a slave culture, essentially. So the people who invented the religions that and the moral themes that even non-religious people built the Western world on were slaves. And so what they did, without knowing, essentially, was they built a religion on resentment, where they flipped the moral values of the time. And so they made things like patience and meekness, which is having the ability for violence but holding your sword, like sheathing your sword, that kind of thing. They flipped the moral compass to favor those who were being enslaved, instead of making the things that were good the capability for violence and strength and all those things, because they weren't capable of doing those things. So the only way they could get revenge on the people who had enslaved them was by flipping the moral compass upside down. He said it was the longest 2,000-year revenge story that the history of humanity has seen. Oh, it goes deep.
Sounds like the boy was taking some substances.
Here's the thing.
I don't know.
He has.
I'm not educated enough to talk on.
Neither am I.
This
is the thing, right? Is like.
I have a quote though that kind of relates to what you're talking about. I'm gonna butcher it again. We probably should write some of the shit down when we see it.
I didn't know we were gonna go into this, so otherwise I would have done a lot more research and probably actually studied a little bit harder. But
it was like.
Do you want me to Google it instead of you butchering it?
Dude, I saw
Pull
it.
it up, Jamie.
I saw it on TikTok.
Can you give me any a paraphrasing?
It was a dude speaking on TikTok. Some young.
So it's
dude.
probably not gonna be.
No, I'm TikTok. No.
Okay.
Okay. He was saying something along the lines of, when you start to use science as justification for the world around you, that is the best way to dispel religion.
Yes.
And it makes everything seem like the tip of that iceberg of using science to explain our surroundings completely makes religion look like fabricated. But when you go to the bottom of that iceberg,
I know you really this whole thought process came from Nietzsche. I want you to know.
When you go to the bottom of that iceberg, all you have left is religion. That's what it said.
So Nietzsche was famous for saying, and this is a quote from one of his books.
You want to come on the podcast?
All right.
First ever
Interruption.
No, live duty exchange.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me get at the root of this. So Nietzsche was famous for saying that God is dead and we have killed him. And so he, in the 1870s, he was witnessing as science began to erode the faith in Christianity. Okay. And he predicted that once that had happened, fully sort of crystallized, that the result was going to be an increase in nihilism and a giant increase in meaninglessness. Because when you remove a structure like that being religion, it's not just that you remove religion, it's that you remove people's purpose for being alive, essentially, is what he's saying. Okay. And so
I feel like someone like a Jack, or someone who's very in depth in their, or RJ, someone who's very in depth in their Christian faith would be a valuable third person to have on this podcast. Yeah, because obviously I'm Jewish. You are
a spiritual free agent, I guess.
Yeah. So having someone of that specific beliefs, background, compass would have been valuable. Anyways, sure. I just want to make that apparent to the audience.
Yeah, but
this was unplanned.
I'm pretty sure what that guy's touching on is he predicted what would happen in the coming. The reason that Nietzsche's arguments hold weight, by the way, is because he predicted that Nazi Germany was going to happen. He predicted that this rise in totalitarianism was going to happen in the next coming 100 years. And then he died before his predictions could come true, but they still came true. And so his punches towards the Christian faith were both understanding what would happen if you removed it, and that's why he also came with his own replaceable worldview, where he replaced the values that he thought that he replaced and enhanced the values that Christianity was built on.
Okay, I mean, I don't really have a comment on that, but. And I don't really know how that relates to the quote that I said, I'm not gonna lie.
You said that
This was the quote. It was that as soon as science is applied to life, it is the best way to dispel religion. But once you get to the bottom of that pathway, all you have left is religion.
I think that ties directly into what I just said. Because the thing that eroded the Christian faith in the beginning is science. Is because, like I said,
we're not saying the Christian faith is eroded. We're talking about hypothetical. I mean,
I don't think it's.
I know absolutely nothing.
I don't
Christian
think it's crazy to say that after. No, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna leave that where it is. I started to pull on some historical facts, and I was like, I don't know if that's true. I'm gonna leave that where it is. But science definition, like I said, it pulls subjectivity. It creates the objective. It creates objective truths, like you said, and religion's not based on objective truths necessarily. And the scientific objective.
You just said objective truth and science.
No,
is
sorry.
different.
It's that no objective truths and science are mutually exclusive.
Yes.
They're not whatever. What did you just say?
Different. Same thing.
Yeah, they're mutually exclusive. I'm saying that there's multiple kinds of truth is essentially what I'm saying.
I agree.
And so the objective truths, if you were to, let's say you're atheist and you don't believe in any of this stuff, if you just follow the path of science, which tells you what is, it doesn't tell you how to act. It doesn't tell you what's meaningful. It doesn't define any of these things because they're not scientific questions. And so that leaves you, essentially, if you just leave it at that, you are definitionally nihilistic because you have no purpose, you have no meaning. You're just like, I know what the world is, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. That's the question that religions answer, is that how am I supposed to act in the world? How do I deal with these situations? And you look into these stories that are built on thousands of years of human experience that illustrate these truths of being a human, and they give you the answers of how to act.
Yes, I agree. But I think we also had a miscommunication or I think that objective truths and science are the same thing, and moral truths and objective truths are mutually exclusive. Like, is it okay to kill somebody? That's a moral truth, not an objective truth. An objective truth is your body has X amount of bones. Or an objective truth is you have blue colored pigment in your eye. Or an objective truth is this table is brown. A moral truth.
What's the difference between an objective? Okay, I know you're about to answer that.
So science proves objective truth. Moral truth and objective truth. Moral truth comes from philosophy, which is like, this is my opinion on it. Obviously, I'm not fucking Fugate, whatever the guy's name is.
Friedrich Nietzsche?
Yeah, Nietzsche.
But so like you said, there are different types of truth.
Yeah.
Objective truth is science, and science is objective truth.
It's a form of objective truth.
Okay, yes. And moral truth and objective truth are mutually exclusive. So what you're talking about, the whole is moral truth, not objective truth. Science is objective truth. Something that is scientific is objectively true. You cannot disprove it. Something that is morally true.
That's not the definition of objective truth, though. The fact that you can't disprove it doesn't make it objectively true.
To me, this is my perspective on it. I don't know what the definition. Search up. What's
the
the
definition of an objective truth means that it's true regardless of what you think.
That's science. That is science.
There's no subjectivity to it.
That is science. There's no exactly. And you just said that science is like this does not allow for subjectivity.
Yes.
So we're on the same page.
I think we're getting lost in the weeds here. I lost the.
I'm saying that objective truth,
yes,
is science.
Yes,
and science is objective truth. One side of the spectrum. On the other side of the spectrum, you have moral truth. That is philosophy. Philosophy is moral truth.
You think they're opposed?
I don't think they're opposed. I just don't think they're related. You were saying that objective truth and science are unrelated. I'm saying that they are completely related, and moral truth and science are unrelated. Like you said, objective truth is something that has no subjectivity.
Indeed.
Which is science. Moral truth is moral truth. It's now it's subjective.
Now we get in the weeds.
That's 100% subjective.
Now I'd have to ask the question: why is moral truth subjective?
Because it depends on your life experiences. Do you think it is okay to lie? That is a moral truth. Do you think it's okay to lie?
I don't lie. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. Everyone lies, but I try to avoid lying as much as humanly possible. Is the answer I would give you.
So if I ask you, and this is like more like, is it okay to lie in any capacity?
Okay is the word that's messing with me there.
Okay.
Is it good?
Is it justifiable to lie?
Well, that's an obvious yes in certain circumstances.
Okay, but that's some people will say no. Some people will say you should tell the truth all the time, no matter what, no matter who it impacts. The truth is always the best way to go. That's the best path is the truthful path, the honest path. In every single circumstances, there are people that believe that. There are people that is their moral truth. I think that there are specific circumstances and times where it is a net positive to
Keep talking. I need to Google something real quick.
to lie and to not say the whole truth or omit parts of the truth, depending on the circumstances.
Let me just Google something real quick.
That is a moral truth depending on people's life experiences.
While I continue to ruminate. Rumination.
I mean, I could talk about the cat again, but I mean, I'm kind of at the end of the growth plate with that thought.
With the what?
End of the growth plate with that thought.
Which thought?
What I just said.
Oh, hold on. This is what I would say. I think there's universal moral principles.
Wrong. How?
Because the Christian religion is literally based on 10 of them.
I'm not a Christian.
Sure, but you still hold true to universal Christian moral
But
principles.
not everybody does.
The entire Western world was based on them.
People come to schools and shoot up children,
and you would say that's more. You would say that's morally
I
wrong.
would, but they wouldn't. So how can we say that there are objective truths if not everybody agrees with it?
Because I think
there are people that
there are objectively morally wrong things to do, and shooting up a school, I would say, is one of them. I think you find it pretty hard pressed to go to the general public and be like, "Is it wrong to shoot up a school?" And someone say,
okay,
"No."
100%. But an objective truth is something that no matter what, 100% is true.
I think in all circumstances, shooting up a school is wrong.
I agree with that, but not everybody agrees with that because there are people that do that. So how can we say that 100% of people, 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100, a billion out of a billion people would say that if it happens? People think that it's justifiable. People think that it is an okay thing to do.
I think if you're I think we're getting lost here is that truth can exist outside of independent from human opinion.
Yes,
but that can be a truth. That if someone shoots up a school, that truth that it's wrong can exist outside of human opinion. There's going to be a lot of dead space on this podcast.
I don't agree. Okay. So you're saying things can be true, but then now we're just going in a circle because nothing actually means anything in this world.
Holy shit.
So how can you say that there are moral truths outside of humanity when none of that even matters? The only people that morality matters to is humans. So how can we say that morality exists outside of humans? Because it doesn't matter, because none of it matters. Because we're all monkeys.
What if monkeys have a moral compass, though? Do monkeys have morality?
Even if they do, then they can. Sure, if monkeys have morality, awesome. Mm-hmm. But outside of the monkeys,
no, because the moral code governs any situation where you need to interact with someone socially. The moral codes that you base your life on were built way before you were a human. Yeah. Technically, they were built on like lobsters who were interacting at the bottom of the ocean billions of years ago. And one decided that if I have a house here and this is mine, that it's wrong for you to come over and flip it. Otherwise, we're all going to attack you and kill you and you're not going to survive. So that's where the moral code is based. So technically, you could say that because it's 2 billion years old and older than science, that it's actually more true.
But it doesn't. But grass will still grow if there is no animals to govern.
If over 2 billion years, the same moral codes still govern our existence, that says something about the fact that existence itself is governed by moral rules.
Yeah. You have to call it. We might have to call it. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Also, if you're of the belief that this world was created and not exploded out of energy the size of a pin and the whole like Big Bang thing, if you're not a scientist, if you believe that God created the earth and you believe the Christian religion, you believe that God instilled. If you believe the Christian religion, if you believe all of them, monotheism is the belief in multiple gods.
No,
that's polytheism.
monotheism is Judaism, Christianity,
is the belief in one
Muslim,
God.
Yes.
Any monotheistic belief relies on the fact that they've, one, created the universe, and two, instilled it with moral values. So that means that it exists outside of time and space, that it was put here specifically for us to govern ourselves, and it was endowed to you by the creator of the universe. So that means that if you do believe that, it exists outside of science and is deeper and more true than science. Mic drop.
Yeah, I mean,
Challenge his beliefs. Dude, this is probably the craziest, most brutally butchered crash course on philosophy that's ever graced the internet by far.
holy shit, dude.
But that made sense?
Yeah, it did. In a weird way, it made sense. I can't lie.
Good, because I'm challenging your beliefs, like Nietzsche.
But was what I was saying making sense?
Indeed, but I had to provide a counter argument.
So you're saying that. So back to what we were talking about before. On one side of the scale, there is objective truth and science. We agree with that. Things that are objectively true have scientific proof. Mm-hmm. On the other side of the spectrum, we have moral truths, and that comes from, there is an aspect of subjectivity to that, but you're saying that is arguably more true than objective and scientific truth because it is in the fundamental principles of the
social relations
of the earth that a higher power has ingrained into our.
There's two scenarios. You can argue it from either side of a scientific perspective or from a religious perspective. Either it has been endowed to you through the creator, which means it's pretty unbelievably important, or it's evolved over 2 billion years of evolution in every single social interaction that happened at any organism ever, and therefore it's much older and much deeper into reality than science. So there's two situations where both of them, even using science, I think it's deeper than science.
Okay. I wasn't counterposing that. I was not opposing that standpoint. Yeah, I don't really know where to go from here, bro.
I don't know if I know where to go from you either.
Might have to sit in my own thoughts for like the next couple of days.
Dude, I have been doing this for days because the thing is like once you get hit with one philosophical argument, one, it really helps to understand where it's nestled in the entire philosophical organism itself. But also, you have to understand how it relates to you and like what you believe. And so you just, I'm philosophically exhausted right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like it just takes so much.
Here's a philosophical question, but it's much more lighthearted. Do you think us having this conversation now makes us smart or makes us dumb? Obviously, your pride would like to make you say, oh yeah, we're smart because we can have a philosophical conversation about things you don't relate. But also, like, does this make us smart or does this make us dumb?
Does it have to be, why does it have to be binary?
It doesn't.
I would say this exists outside of those two binary lenses that you just gave me.
Cop-out answer.
It is, but it's
Plead
also
the
the
fifth last
only
answer.
one. If I say, "Oh my god, this conversation makes me so smart," it's like, well, that is stacked up against every other smart conversation that's ever been had, and I'm pretty sure we're going to lose that fight. But on my side, if I say that this conversation it was dumb, I have every dumb conversation that's ever put here, and I can look at that and be like, well, it wasn't that dumb. Like I've had dumber conversations, and so
you think it's someone I know?
I think a better question would be, was this conversation productive?
And I would say probably not.
You don't think so?
No, I do. I mean, technically, no, because it doesn't. I mean, I don't know, bro. I don't know what matters, what doesn't matter.
Technically, it can't
anymore.
really be productive because there was no goal in the beginning. It just is. That's
It definitely
everything comes
is.
back all the way to that. It just is.
Which is exactly why I was talking about before. Like, you think that under a scientific perspective, morality is not more important because it not everything just is.
Yeah. But
Thank you guys for listening.
I was going to say, it's like, yeah, under a scientific lens, there is no morality, but that kind of would lead into another conversation, which I don't know if we can go there, but
We
it's
are
like,
doing this for an hour already.
it is
I'm
true.
exhausted.
We did technically manage to pull an hour out of one singular
Holy
quote,
fuck.
but if you're going to say that, yes, morality doesn't exist under the lens of science, sure, but then it depends on what you think is more important, science or everything that exists outside of science. So it's like I said before, do you value what reality is made of and what it literally is, or do you value how you should act within it?
All right, guys. Thank you for listening.
All right. I threw one out there. I got it. Holy effing airball.
Nah, I just don't even have anything to respond to that. I'm not going to lie to you.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie. I don't have anything else. I think my brain is mush now.
Good. Now you got to rebuild it, and then we'll come back here and we'll do it again.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. Ship Across the Border, episode 110. We still have done nothing for episode
Did
100.
you read that, or did you guess?
I know.
Oh, okay.
This last one was 109. Thank you guys for listening. Follow us on Instagram at SATB_pod. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us on TikTok. Still haven't figured that out yet. We'll get to it. We will get to it.
I don't know if we will at this point.
We might get to it. Yeah, if you guys have any thoughts about what you just heard, if you even made it to this point, honestly,
I respect you.
I respect the shit out of you. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. If you have any comments on what we just talked about, drop them down below. Shoot us a DM. If you know anything about any of this, shoot us a DM too. And we would love to have someone on the podcast who
actually knows what they're talking
knows
about.
what the fuck they're talking about, not just two idiots.
By the way, I just want to say 3%. We could not have timed this more perfectly.
Shout out. Thank you guys for listening. See you guys next week.